So I think I finally decided. There's just a couple things before we start that these are going to be probably every Monday or so, because that's I don't know. That's just it's the best time to record for me is every Monday, and they'll be uploaded every Monday night, probably. Hopefully, this is just what I'm planning on. I'm not going to make any promises, and my voice is just naturally extremely monotone. Like, I'm the physical embodiment of Bird Person from Rick and Morty. My tone does not change no matter what I'm doing. I always sound like this, just always. This is why my family thinks I should be a narrator. If you hear any crunching in the background, my lizard is currently devouring his greens. His kale. Okay. We begin. Chapter 3. It took 2 hours to get to what was the first signs of human life. An almost ancient-looking ruin sat in the middle of a massive clearing in the forest, with a scar of treeless forest stretching off for quite a while. They sat there for a while, eating lunch provided by Demon, which was little more than a nutrient satchel and hot water. They encountered a few more of the wolf things, but they were quickly dispatched by Demon with ease. After another hour, they came to a giant vertical cliff that rose a couple 100 feet off the ground. "It's a good thing we don't have to go up that thing," joked the militia grunt. "Ha, funny. See you at the top," said Demon as he sprinted off at full speed up the wall. The moment before he reached it, he pulled out his knife and activated his stim. He launched himself full bore at the cliff and flared his jump kit. He rocketed up the cliff surface, legs propelling him up as the jump kit assisted him. Every time the jump kit needed its short recharge, he would stick the knife into the wall for a second to pull himself up with his arms. After about 20 seconds, he was at the top, looking back down at the three figures at the bottom of the cliff. "Show off," muttered Kira, as Demon began lowering a long rope down to the bottom of the cliff. As it reached the bottom, the specter strode over and connected an ascender to it, clipped it to its chest, and held out its arms to grab the grunts. They reluctantly went into the embrace of the specter, and they slowly rose to the top of the cliff before disconnecting and climbing over the lip. As the four turned to renew their trek north, they were stopped by a bizarre sight. Just coming out of the tree line were four girls. Three looked a bit over 17, while one looked about 15, wearing strange garb, colored red, white, black, and yellow. Red one was wearing a cape, had black hair, silver eyes, a red dress, knee-high combat boots with black accents, and a strange device locked just behind her wrist. The one in white had long, flowing white hair with a white dress to match, an ancient weapon hanging off her waist. The one garbed in black wore an outfit that resembled a tailcoat that the aristocrats back on Earth would wear. A strange sheath lay diagonally across her back, a long, flowing ribbon coming off of the hilt. And finally, the one in yellow had the longest hair he had ever seen on a person. Long, messy, blonde locks were accented by a yellow and black uniform that didn't really cover much at all. Two bright yellow bracelets were covering her arm. Oh, God. I don't know if I can read that, guys. This down here. Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna try. Hold on. Let me just read this over a few times. "Oh my God, you guys look so cool. Are you from Atlas? Look, they're like cool space pirates," blurted the red one in a spiel of garbled words. I'm sorry, that took a lot out of me. The girl in white elbowed her and caused the red one to blush a bit. The white-garbed girl stepped forward and addressed the four. What my friend here is trying to say is that you don't look like you're from around here. And why the strange get-up? Are you military, or huntsmen, or huntresses, perhaps? Huntsmen? Huntresses? No, we don't kill animals. We aren't from around here either. Could you point us to the nearest town, perhaps? Offered Demon as he stood in front of the other three, his LMG resting diagonally in front of his chest. Yeah, we can take you to Vale, but you're telling me you haven't heard of Huntsman? You mean people who kill to feed people? Yes, why? This time the red one stepped forward again. No, silly. Huntsmen, as in the ones that are totally awesome and go around killing Grim. Those ones, she said as she performed a mock karate move. Performed mock karate moves as she spoke. Grim? I'm not familiar with the terminology. As their jaws dropped at the comment, looking like he had just tried to explain the theory of everything in like 3 seconds. Before they could comment again, his right hand left the grip of the LMG and pulled out his wingman. He aimed it right at the head of the red girl and pulled the trigger. At the red girl and pulled the trigger. I just have mini strokes when I read. Ugh. My editing software isn't too amazing, so I have to wait a few seconds and then read the entire lines before, before, and then I just edit those together. That's why sometimes it seems a bit off. With a scream, the girl ducked to the left, narrowly avoiding the bullet. A look of severe shock strewn on her face. The black-clad girl drew what looked like to be a katana, and she also held the sheath like a makeshift cleaver. The white girl drew her rapier with a revolver chamber near the hilt and aimed it straight at Demon. The yellow one's gauntlet seemed to extend to cover for her forearms, accompanied by the sound of a shotgun round chambering. What the hell? The yellow one screamed as she assumed a brawler stance. Without even a reply, he simply gestured to where he had shot. They turned around just in time to see a wolf thing with a large hole in the center of its head just behind where the red girl was standing. As it dropped to the ground and begun disintegrating, the four girls turned back to Demon with scowls on their faces. Well, thank you would have been nice. Well, a thank you would have been nice. You shot at my sister. You two are sisters? Yes. Well then, that's nice. So, are we going to town or not? They began sheathing their weapons again. The red one's face resuming back to her normal self, and their posture seemed to be less hostile. We'll take them. But not you, though. Really? You take everyone but the dude that saved your sister? Just, wow. Well, I guess I'll see you there. He casually strode over and sat at the edge of the cliff, staring into the distance. Hello? Are you serious? Yes, and if you two were, you would be leaving right now. Or are you reconsidering? What? No. Okay then, you three follow me, and you have fun getting to Vale without a bullhead. Oh, I will. One of the biggest reasons that I fell in love with Demon is because he's just so much better than everyone else, and he just to a point where he doesn't even have to care. Like, I don't condone overpowered characters. Well, I condone overpowered characters because I guess my character in my fanfiction is a bit overpowered and are a bit overpowered, but I'm trying to fix that anyways. But like, he carries himself like he's so much better than everyone else. And the fact that in some ways he's really below everyone else. If that makes any sense. Like, it's hard to explain. Anyways, let's just continue. You'll get what I mean the more we get into this. Three of them looked at him with eyes that could have burnt a hole through him if looks could kill. while the red one smiled with an "okay" and ran and began pulling the two girls and the specter off toward where they were in the tree line. After a minute, he no longer felt any prying eyes watching him. He smiled to himself and looked around to check. No one. Good. He waited and heard the sound of a dropship lifting up and flying off. After a couple more moments, he called the dropship to his location, waited a bit more, and the craft was now sitting, waiting in front of him, just hovering a bit over the cliff edge. A side door opened, ready to engorge its cargo. He jumped in and walked to the front of the craft, sitting down in the cockpit at the controls. He initiated the tracking system for Sid, relaying it to the craft, and a couple seconds later he was jetting off just above the tree line, following their dropship. He stayed a fair while back, just enough so that they were still on his radar, but couldn't see him. He activated his HUD's zoom function when he saw the craft they were traveling. He activated his HUD's zoom function. He saw the craft were traveling. I think that's meant to say in. They were traveling in. Anyways, it was a very stocky dropship, colored gray, and was similar to a plane in design, except for the two pronged thrusters on the sides. He stayed tracking it for a while until he intercepted a transmission they were receiving. "Hi, Ozpin," came the sprightly voice of the red one. "Hello, Ruby. I have been informed that you met a couple of people in the Emerald Forest. Will you care to take them back to Beacon so I can have a chat with them? I'll be waiting for them at the landing pads." "Sure thing, sir." Great. What was this beacon he spoke of? He checked the frequencies and cross-referenced the conversations, finding most of the references they were talking about how it was a school that trained people to fight the Grim. So that's what those Black Wolf things were called. He noticed a course change in the dropship and altered his to match. He hacked into the dropship's maps and downloaded them to the screen on his arm. After consulting with the logs and maps, he found they were most likely going to be heading to a massive floating sky fortress thing near a massive city. Well, he would get there first. He gunned the engines, and the dropship flew much faster, past the others with great ease. As he looked on the flight cogitator, he saw he still had about 7 minutes until he reached the establishment that he was now aiming for. As he pondered, he thought it would be a good idea to at least try and learn a bit about this world's culture. So without a second thought, he hacked into the local archives and pulled up the basic info on the world. 6 minutes later, he could see the great floating mini-city known as Beacon. He read up on the Grim, learning that there were, in fact, more than just the wolf things, known as Beowulfs, to them. He learned about the Four Kingdoms, Mistral, Vacuo, Atlas, and finally, Vale. He read up on the Huntsmen and Huntresses, as they were called, and found that they were people who were trained to fight these monsters, as well as having aura and semblances. He would have to ask about that later, as well as a bunch of other useless information on Faunus, another thing he would have to ask about. He looked up to see the floating fortress begin to take up most of his vision. He slowed the dropship down a bit and began to spin the minigun and armed the rocket pods, just in case they were IMC. He crested the top of the floating island and flew to what looked like the landing pads. As he scanned the area, he saw only 2 people who were even remotely close to his destination. One was a male with silver hair, a thermal mug in hand, and the other was a female in a strange blue cloak, and a writing crop in her hand. Definitely weird. Sensing no threat, Demon landed the dropship and opened the back door, greeting the 2 on the landing pad. He walked out, jackhammer slung over his back, his hand an inch above his pistol holster. "Hello there," he called. The silver-haired man walked forward and held out his hand in greeting. Demon obliged the action, shaking his hand in return. "Hello and welcome to Beacon Academy. May I ask what brought you here?" Ah, so he was the formal type. I always loved messing with the higher-ups, thought Demon as he smiled to himself under his helmet. I was just taking a stroll when I saw a giant floating city and thought to myself, I'm gonna go there. So here I am, he replied rather sarcastically. A bemused smile crossed the man's face, while the female just scowled at the response. At least he appreciated the effort. Well then, welcome again. I am Ozpin, the headmaster of this school, and who might you be? Last time I checked, you teleported somewhere in the Emerald Forest, then you disabled the cameras before we could track you. Yeah, sorry about that. You see, I'm not from around here. I've seen. Well, I seem to be in a bit of a pickle, and it would be very helpful if I could acquire the use of a communications tower so I could contact my ship. Is that not yours? He questioned, pointing towards the dropship behind him. No, I mean, yes, it's mine, but I have a bigger one that should be in orbit above Raleigh right about now. So if you get me to the nearest spaceport with a comms tower, that would be nice. Orbit? Spaceport? Are you telling me you're from another planet? Great. Another ground-bound planet. Just the place to be stuck on. Just to put it simply, you wouldn't... Yes, to put it simply, you wouldn't happen to have heard of the militia or the IMC. I'm afraid I haven't. Well then, sit down, kiddies. History of 101. Over the next couple of minutes, he gave them a rundown version of the history between the IMC and militia and about Earth. He told them of their technology, the towering giants known as Titans, and how he had ended up on a planet called Remnant. And about how he had ended up on the planet called Remnant. After he finished his tale, the man seemed to contemplate the news he had just heard. What's your name? Well, no one but me knows my actual name, but you can call me Demon. Okay then, Demon. How old are you? He asked. After he asked this, the woman next to him widened her eyes and turned to him. Sir, you can't be serious. How can you believe that story? It's obviously a lie. I can't dismiss it for what it is. In every story there is some grain of truth. So I ask again, how old are you? 18, replied Demon as he recalled how short a time he had actually been in the military. Would you like to have a chance to attend my school? How would you like to have a chance to attend my school to train to become a huntsman? School? Not again. I finished when I was 14, and I'm not doing that again. You are mistaken. This school trains warriors. We train teenagers to combat the Grim, and do so at this academy. So let me get this straight. After knowing literally nothing about me apart from my name and age, a fake name at that, you offer me a place at your school that trains warriors, and you haven't even seen me fight. In short, yes. Doing so will help me... In short, yes. Doing so will help you find a way to get back to your home planet, and it will help us learn more about your technology. And I'm sure you aren't a bad person, are you? No, but... what the heck. I'm not going to be here for long, so sure. On 2 conditions. And what would they be? No uniform, and the mask stays on, he said, pointing a finger to his helmet. Okay. We will provide you with bedding, food, and anything else you might need. But in exchange, you will teach us about your technology. Do we have a deal, young man? He said, offering a hand to Demon. Deal. I didn't become the militia's best pilot for nothing. He reached forward and shook the man's hand. Now this is Miss Goodwitch, your combat instructor and dean of the students at this school, he said while gesturing to the woman behind him. And I'm sure I saw 2 other people with you? Yes, there were. One is part of the militia with me, and the other is part of and the other is an IMC grunt who got caught up on the general's plan. Oh, and you don't mind if I brought a Spectre, do you? I'm not sure what exactly is a Spectre. Basically a robot that can shoot things and has an AI installed. Artificial intelligence. Yes, why? We don't have anything like that here. You will have to introduce me to it. It is a he. And I will... It is a he. And I will, don't worry. Here they come now. But this world does have AI intelligence because Penny. I guess Ozpin doesn't know about that, right? As the conversation finished, the bullhead, as he found out they were called, landed heavily on the landing pads next to his dropship. The 4 girls had been sent in the forest. The 4 girls he had seen in the forest climbed out, 3 of them instantly letting a scowl across their face, while the red one waved enthusiastically at him. Kira and the IMC grunt climbed out next, followed by AI Sid in the Spectre. Their group from the bullhead walked over to greet them. I can't... I'm sorry, I can't narrate it. I try, but I suck... I fail miserably. Told you I'd be here, chimed Demon as he smiled behind his mask. Without a word, the IMC grunt walked up and swiftly kicked him in the groin. That's for stealing my ship, you ass. I deserve that, he whimpered as he collapsed to the ground, hands nursing his pained groin. He looked up to see the only Kira. Ozpin and RWBY had concerned looks on their faces, while the rest just laughed. Ozpin took his hand and helped him up. Well, team, this is Ozpin, the headmaster of the school that trains teenagers to fight monsters, spoke up Demon as he pointed to the headmaster. This is Kira, the militia grunt who somehow managed to get her hands on a Kraber. Sid, my AI robot. And finally, sorry I never actually got your name. The IMC grunt turned to the headmaster while holding out her hand. Hi, I'm Rosaline. Nice to meet you. The professor shook her hand before addressing both Rosaline and Kira. So Demon here informs me that you two are combat efficient. How'd you like a chance to join my combat academy? They both contemplated for a moment before nodding their heads. I assume the robot will follow you. Sid, inside the Spectre, turned his head to Ozpin. I am not a robot, sir. I am an artificial intelligence made for the use of urban pacification missions. A robot can only perform simple tasks. However, I am essentially a human with dimmed emotions inside a mechanical body. Ozpin was put back a bit by this response. Remarkable. It's like talking to a real person. Are my vocal transmitters not working correctly? Are my vocal transmitters not in working order? As I stated before, I am just a body and a few personality flaws away from being human. Sorry, on this planet, the closest thing we have to artificial intelligence is the Elysian military combat droids. Understood. It took the populace of Earth a while to fully understand the complexity of AI. This time, the white girl from before stepped forward and spoke in a very annoyed and obnoxious voice. How did you get an Atlas military drone? And what is Earth? And you must be... How did you get an Atlas military drone? And what is Earth? You must be mad to make up place names. Listen here, princess. I paid more money than you have made in a lifetime paying for the AI. And it's not a droid, as you keep saying. It's an E9CA model Spectre, top-of-the-line military combat apparatus. And Earth is a little place that I highly doubt you're ever going to see because of your technological inferiority. The girl seemed a bit taken aback by this, and her face went red in anger. Do you even know who I am? No, and to be honest, I don't care. She continued as though he hadn't even spoken. I am Weishni, the heiress of the biggest dust production company in Remnant, so you might as well rethink your attitude when talking to me in that manner. Oh, I'm so sorry, he mocked while feigning a bow. I've actually done that before. She only turned redder, and the red one had to hold her back before she could slap him. He turned back to the presser. So, when do we start? If you would be so kind as to follow Miss Good Witch, then she will escort you to your room. As they left, Kira walked over to the four girls, a quick address. Look, word of advice, don't mess with Demon. Why? He's a complete jerk, spat Weiss. Well then, answer me this. How many people in this city? How many people live in this city? Just answer the question. 650,000. Okay, well, divide that by 100 and you'll get a near amount of the people he has killed. Okay, well, divide that by 100 and you'll get near the amount of people he has killed. What? He's a murderer? He should be in jail, the animal. As she said that, she received a curt elbow in the side from the one in black, who had narrowed her eyes in disgust. Weiss only mouthing sorry before turning back to Kira. Bottom line, you don't want to be on the receiving end of his anger. The four could only stare in horror as Kira walked off to join the others. Did Osmond know about this? Did he care? Would they have to keep their weapons with them while they slept? They could only think as the four newcomers walked off. So if anyone has been wondering what these four characters are on screen, they're characters from Hawk and Stone made in video games, obviously, because I can't draw. So, I know this one's like slightly a bit less edited and stuff, but I do this entire narration edit it in the span of like 2 hours. And I'm gonna need 2 outro songs because this is so long, because